Happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to another BRAP rant. Today's rant, we're going to address the white elephant in the room. Gaming media bias. Is it real? Is it fake? Which one is it?
This is
You
a
know,
spicy topic.
yeah, it's very spicy. And I actually have a special guest with me this evening, Mr. Jay Fonzarelli, my co-host at Lou Chess Radio. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's up, man?
Happy
It's
holidays, man.
happy holidays. Good to be here, man. Yeah, we've just been sort of fighting the good fight on Twitter lately. Just some of these people coming out of the woodwork to defend certain people and just craziness going on with all this stuff we're about to talk about. So I say we get into it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say something real quick. I, there seems to be this idea out there that because you are behind a mouse and a keyboard, that you can go on social media and just say anything you want, and there not be any consequences to your words, to your behavior, to your actions towards others. It doesn't work that way, and
No.
it blows my mind. Blows my mind that people think that social media gives you this out from any kind of repercussion or any kind of blowback that might come your way for things that you say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've all seen it, maybe on a personal end or just through other people we may know who've been, attacked in certain ways. But it's definitely an issue, that's for sure.
And you know what's really you know what I don't understand. This is the part that I have trouble with, Jay. When people say look the other way, you're just giving them attention.
Hmm. Yeah,
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to look the other way, because what's happening is, and a lot of people, and maybe because I have a different perspective, because I've talked to gaming journalists, I've talked to people in the industry, developers, and maybe because I have that perspective, I see the impact that all this is having. Like, we're all getting lumped in here. Like, if you,
hmm,
like, Jay, like, if you rocked the Scorpio, the M symbol, right? Remember when the M was the big thing to do?
yeah, yep,
If you rocked an M, people in the industry automatically thought that you were some crazy Microsoft fanboy.
yeah. No, I mean, and that's true. And and as far as I'm concerned, when I do see that sometime, I do look at people who still wear that badge and think, well, is this guy really, like, is he way far out there? Is he with, certain people that want to attack journalists and such? Or is this guy going to be level headed and coherent when he talks to me or what? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know how to take them right at first. I don't know.
And that's the sentiment amongst people in the industry and journalists. We don't know how to take them. They're probably fanboys.
Yeah.
And you may remember, Z Huge, who's
No. No, I don't.
okay. So Z Huge is an industry analyst. And I forget, I forget what company he works for. It's similar to MPD, but it's overseas. And like Matt Piscatella, he'll post like different sales trends, stuff, industry related trends, right?
Yeah.
Well, he just one day, I think, got into it with somebody somebody who had an M, and he just started blocking people.
Yeah. See, and
Like,
that's the problem.
he didn't care.
That's
He was just blocking people with M's.
Yeah. That's not good. I mean, and it's sad because, there could be legit somebody out there with an M next to their name or an X or whatnot. And it could just be that they're huge fans of the brand. And I don't mind people who are just huge fans of a brand. You can cheerlead all you want, but just stay away from certain things. You don't cross a certain line. And it's unfortunate that they get lumped in with everybody that does cross those lines, with those M's, with those X's, with those Scorpios. It's sad but true.
It's like gang mentality, man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
guilty by association, man. It's exactly what the police do.
You know what? That's true. And the thing is we're seeing it. I mean, we've seen it with Z Huge, and he caught a lot of slack. People like, oh, he's a fanboy. He's blocking all these people with M's, you know. And people were angry, and Z was like, look, I don't get down with the fanboy stuff. I love gaming. I'm passionate about it. This is, it's why he does what he does for a living, and he just didn't want to deal with it, and he lumped everyone into kind of that he assumed that everyone was a fanboy, and most people think it's crazy. Most journalists, a lot of developers think that now if you have an M, you're probably some crazy Microsoft fanboy.
Yeah. Like I said, when I look at it, that's my first initial reaction to somebody who I first come in contact with that has that. I don't know, because I don't know any better for this guy. I don't know, and that may be wrong of me, but at the same time, it's what this culture has provided me here on Twitter. What I've learned over the past few months on Twitter with some of these people, it's odd, but when you see some of these same people or same symbols next to some of these people, and they're going after journalists and stuff, it just puts a bad taste in your mouth. It does.
And yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, let's put on the, let's flip it around. I mean, if you saw somebody with yeah, you remember the guy who used to troll you?
Oh yeah, my good friend.
Yeah. I mean, what if we saw somebody and we were all with, what if we saw somebody with a swastika, right?
Yeah.
Associated with their Twitter account. What would be the first thing that would come to your mind?
They're Nazi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or they're at least some sort of troll, if anything, and it sucks. I think that yeah, anybody who brands themselves like this now, they're pretty much screwed. I mean, they're not going to be viewed favorably in a lot of minds out there, especially industry heads. I'm sure a lot of them are looking down upon some of these people.
No, they are. They are. I mean, look, Microsoft's even blacklisted some of the more popular fanboy Microsoft or Xbox fanboy podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, people wake up. If Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg, if the marketing group at Microsoft has blacklisted these people,
here's my I've got to bring up another issue. Not just, and this doesn't completely go outside the realm of what these fanboys are doing, but this doesn't help matters. When you see people like Mr. Aaron Greenberg, okay, and I know he's pushing a product they're selling, but the chip in the mouth was one thing. Now he's got a ski mask on and like just all PUBG'd out, and I know he's pushing the game, but it just looks ridiculous for an exec. It just looks like something you'd never see a Sony exec do or a Nintendo exec do ever. It's just odd.
I understand that. I'm actually on the side of the fence that actually thinks that, hey, he's the marketing guy. He's marketing. This is what he does.
It's very weird, man.
No, I mean, the whole chip in the mouth thing was a little interesting. But the PUBG thing, I get. They got to drive sales. They got to do what they need to do to make money.
Yeah, I think the game itself is going to drive those sales. I mean, I don't look to the execs to push me over to buying a game ever. Either the game is good or it's not. What an exec does himself on Twitter or whatnot is not going to make any changes for me. It's just weird, man. It really is, and it just, to me, it's sort of you have to look at it as that, because the guy himself, yes, he's to promote and he's to push. He's the head of marketing, but he hasn't been doing a great job this gen. And this is the kind of stuff he does. And it it hasn't helped yet. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just weird. It's just weird to me.
No, no, I understand. I mean, we've talked behind the scenes about that. And yeah, I probably have a better understanding, I think, of your perspective than the folks that are listening because of things that we've discussed. You know, it, so but the thing is it's just so. Here's the thing: like people say to me, "Well, why are you on this crusade?" And it's not so much a crusade; it's that
No.
you know, there's got to be some level of accountability here, because we're all going to get lumped in. We're all going to be looked at poorly by the industry. The other thing too is, I've been gaming on the Xbox platform, Jay, since I think we talked about this. I was an Xbox beta tester, Xbox
Yeah.
Live beta tester.
Yeah. Me too.
Went out and took the plunge. I was primarily gaming on the PlayStation 2 at the time, and hey, man, I took the plunge. Right
Yep.
when the OG Xbox launched, I was excited about what Microsoft was bringing to the table. And as a community, man, you know what we did? We played games. We'd be in we'd be in forums like I was actually a moderator for GameSpot in their forums. Actually, I started off as a moderator in their Xbox forums, and then from there I moved into some of the other forums and stuff. But anyhow, but man, we didn't talk about media bias. We just talked about, man, what's Microsoft coming out with next?
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
getting mech assault?
It's funny. Ever since all day and yourself and even me lately, we've been posting things on Twitter about sort of just combating some of these people that are saying that there's media bias out there and that all gaming journalism is anti-Xbox. Ever since we've been doing that, I've seen polls come up today, like people saying, is there media bias? And of course, the ones that are put out by Xbots
Yeah,
are, saying there is media bias, and the ones put out by PlayStation guys are saying there's none. And it's gonna end up like that, but they're just gonna have all their buddies and everybody that's the thing about this whole community. It is small, it is tiny. We are just a small fraction of the gaming universe. And I think a lot of these people still live within a smaller bubble of their own little bubble, and they seem to just create like this nonsensical, ridiculous world around them where they either believe there's gaming media bias, or there's just everybody's out to get Xbox, or it's just crazy to me. Like, I don't understand where this really all stems from, because as a gamer of
I do.
35 plus years, I've seen the EGMs, I've seen the magazines over the years that had, you can say, one could argue, quote unquote, they were biased against another platform or whatnot, but they weren't. The thing is, it's just that when a console manufacturer is not doing so well, the articles will go out. There will be stuff written because that's how they make their money. This stuff sells. They have to put out something, and if there's something that's amiss within a company, that's going to be talked about. That's going to be written about. And that's all we're seeing. We're seeing more of it now because there's just way more attention online. There's way more media outlets, way more people covering this stuff on YouTube, way more people just out there in the gaming space in general when it comes to journalism, that it's insane now compared to when we were growing up, or even 10 years ago. It's a different, from last gen to this gen, Enrique, this is a different landscape completely when it comes to gaming journalism.
Hmm.
Wouldn't you agree? I mean, it's,
Absolutely. For the reasons you just mentioned, I mean, we get snippets of information. I mean, not just gaming news, but we are bombarded by news because of through social media apps, through apps on our cell phones. Um, it's different than when everything was print media. And at the end of the day, these websites, right or wrong, have to generate web traffic because they're now competing against YouTube influencers, Twitter, gamers aren't necessarily relying on these websites to get their news anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why I always caution gamers. I always say, if something's clickbait, move past the clickbait, read the article. Most of the time, you'll find that the clickbait's only a piece of what the actual article, rest of the article is actually about.
And what is clickbait supposed to do? It's supposed to grab your attention. It's supposed to make you want to share this. It's to make you rant about this stuff. They're doing it on purpose so people can click on it and they
Yes.
can make revenue. I mean,
It's marketing.
that's all it is. It's basically smart marketing. It's what Mr. Crap Gamer does with almost every one of his videos daily.
Oh, you mean like with the huge Xbox One news?
Yeah. A megaton.
Big megaton.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. And it's just insane to me. And if I have to hear about the article again, oh my God, if I have to hear about this bullshit about how IGN had this article and it was so against the Xbox, how PUBG is an expensive buy when it was put in packaged in with the Xbox One X, when if you read the goddamn article, it's talking about how the X itself is an expensive console just to get PUBG. Basically, it was just to pull them in. It was a clickbait title to pull them in, and it worked, and it made them rant and rave, and that's all they've been talking about the past 3-4 fucking days.
And that's the thing. People don't read. They take these snippets of information and they run with it. And what they don't, and here's the thing, and what they don't realize is through word of mouth, they're generating traffic for IGN.
Yes, these fanboys are giving more revenue to IGN than anybody else is. That's the sad part when it comes down to it. Or the ironic part, the funny part to me, is that they're giving them money.
What's interesting, Jay, is that I actually had a journalist say it's kind of a running joke in the industry now. If you need web traffic, create a little clickbait that will infuriate the Xbox One community.
Yeah,
and that's but think about that. That's sad, man. That's sad. That's the reputation the community has.
Yeah, one guy came at me with something on Twitter, and this was hilarious because he was I don't have it up, but he came at me and he says, well, it's kind of funny how the media is always, it seems like more than not they're negative when they speak on Xbox. And I said, yeah, but isn't it funny that if you look this gen alone, that Xbox has had more bad going on within the company? And the guy came back at me. He was like, yeah, I guess you're right about that. Well, geez, that's why they're talking about it. Because they've made a lot of mistakes from the get-go. They've made so many mistakes. And yes, they're writing some of it with some of these services and the X. And guess what, guys? These services and the X, they're getting praise. They're getting praise. Digital Foundry is finally, they're posting the X versus the Pro and all this stuff. And finally, they're giving props to the X daily. Yet you still have Xbox fans complaining.
It blows my mind. It's you were part of this chat on Twitter. I don't remember his name, but he actually went up and looked up the definition of biased.
Yes.
And then and then couldn't comprehend what the meaning of bias, after reading the definition, couldn't comprehend what bias and being biased really is. He couldn't distinguish the difference between a bias and a preference.
Yep.
And you know what? There's a lot of people that get those two mixed up. And that just blows my mind. Blows my mind. Like if the media was true, and you just brought up, Jay, if the media was truly biased,
yeah,
would they be singing the praises of Game Pass?
Nope.
Would they be singing the praises of EA Access? When Sony came out and made that statement, we don't want, what is it? We don't want, they gave some bullshit statement with EA Access, why they didn't want EA Access on the Sony platform. something to the effect like they didn't feel like it offered their PlayStation owners, um, good value.
Yeah, yeah, it was something along those lines. I
Yeah,
remember.
and the media came out and said, "Screw you, Sony. Who are you to tell us as consumers that that's not a good value for us?"
Yeah, I think anytime you put an option out there on your console, it's always a good thing. It's an option. It's not forced. And at Xbox are getting props for this stuff. And excuse me, people, I've been pretty sick lately, and I'm just getting over it, and my voice is all tore up. But um, Xbox has been praised for Game Pass. They've been praised for these game services, and they've been praised for the X. But basically, what you see a lot of is negativity towards their games or lack thereof when it comes to exclusives, anyway. And these Xbots, for lack of a better word, can't handle it. And it is what it is, man. We're not gonna, these gaming journalists are not going to stop talking about this stuff. They're not just going to say, oh, okay, they've invested. Phil Spencer invested $1 billion into first party. Okay, we'll wait and ride it out. We'll see what happens within the next couple of years, because that's how long it's going to take before we see any of these games come to fruition. It takes time to build on first party games. You can't just invest one day and the next day, boom, we have a game.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't work that way. But these journalists aren't going to stop for no one. They're going to report. And now, if all there is to report negativity on a brand, guess what? That's what's reported.
Yeah. And we saw that last console gen with the PlayStation 3.
Yes. There was very many games that came out last gen on the PS3. And that's another thing. Been gaming for 35 plus years. We've seen this stuff change. It goes through all platforms. I remember when the Nintendo 64 was looked upon as being, the rough system when the PlayStation 1 was launched, and, some of these other CD-based consoles. Oh, the cartridge was terrible. It was a bad thing for them to do.
Real quick, I just want to say something real quick. That is a great point, because I remember the media back then were like, what is Nintendo doing?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah,
it was yesterday. That's why I'm saying some of these people have amnesia or selective amnesia, or they're just young and they haven't gamed for very long. I don't know, because some of these guys, if they're in their 20s and they've been gaming since last gen, I don't know. Maybe they were just gaming and never looked into the media at all. Maybe they didn't read the magazines. Maybe they didn't, go online and read stuff. I don't know, but I've seen it throughout gaming history. There's always been negative press, towards certain brands for certain things. And last gen, it was the PS3. The cell processor was so hard to, work on and design games around, that a lot of the games that were on that console that were on the 360 performed poorly. And they were, reviewed as such.
Yeah, I think Bayonetta was unplayable on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And Skyrim was terrible when it launched on the PlayStation 3.
Yep.
And the media talked about it. The media dogged, for lack of a better word, PlayStation 3. They were critical of Sony's decisions. They were critical of Sony's E3 when Kaz Harari came out and said, basically, he'll go out and get a second job.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Jay. I think people just don't have that historical perspective.
I hate the fact that it's always negative press with the Xbox. I hate that. Or, excuse me, not always, because there is some praise out there. I have to give some credit out there. The X and those services have been getting praise lately. But I am upset that there is more negative press than, good press.
Because they haven't I can't even talk. They have not had as good as a console gen as Sony. Just like the last console gen, but Microsoft had the better console gen.
It's on Xbox back at this point, and it's up to the fans. If those fans were really huge fans of the brand, they would be calling out the bullshit with Xbox as well. because
Facts.
that is the ultimate problem with some of these guys, is that it's always sunshine and rainbows with Xbox. No matter what's going on at Xbox, something huge can happen. They can get rid of Scalebound, and guess what? It's sunshine and rainbows, guys. Don't worry. They have something else coming in the pipeline. That game must have been dog shit. That's what they said. It must have been terrible if they canceled it. It's always that way with them. And that's the problem. You can't just pat a company on the back over and over when you can clearly see there's wrong going on, because that doesn't help the company. It doesn't help the brand. It doesn't help the fan base. It doesn't help anybody. And the sad part is some of these guys are so influential here on YouTube that they influence these people, and they make a lot of these other fans subscribe to that same narrative, think that everything is okay. And it's not.
And you are 110% right. And you know what's what people don't realize is that when they're not critical, it's funny. It's like, they're critical of the media, but it's not the media's job to sell, Xboxes or praise Xbox. That's Microsoft's job to put out a good product, put out a product that people are going to praise. That's on Microsoft.
Yep.
People don't seem to realize that. And when they focus all that negative attention on the media instead of focusing on Microsoft, they're not doing anything or providing any feedback that's going to help Microsoft do anything that's going to make Microsoft create a better platform.
Yeah. But you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong, Enrique, for pointing out this stuff. I'm wrong for pointing out that there's people out there that are influencing others here on YouTube, conditioning them to think that they're right. I'm wrong for doing that. But if we don't point the fingers, if we don't stop the insanity, who will? If we don't try to say, guys, think about this logically, who's going to do that? There needs to be more of us out there that do exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's not being vindictive or malicious or, just, being a horrible person when you do it. It's just that, you can go to Twitter like we have and say, hey, that's not true. Come on, think about it this way. And we've tried to talk some sense into some of these guys. We're not out there calling them names or fighting them in that sort of way. And that's not the way I would want to take it. And I wouldn't encourage anybody to do so. But you got to call them out. You got to say, hey, Crap Gamer is wrong when he says that everything is good at Xbox. Everything is fine. He's completely wrong.
If everything was
says it's wrong.
If everything was fine, they would be in a much better position this console generation than they were last console gen, and they're not. And I say this, I think part of this too, Jay, is a level of immaturity and just being okay, huh?
Yeah, I agree.
No, and seriously, I mean, I really think it is. I think part of it is understanding that, hey, you know what? This thing that I love may not be perfect. It may be flawed. It may have issues, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that people miss. It's like,
and I've said it behind the scenes, but I'll say it here. Earlier I heard Crap Gamer say that he was speaking out of both sides of his mouth, but what's new, right? He's talking about how what was it I said? Here, I have it written down here. Do you remember what it was?
He was happy that
oh yeah, he was happy.
Zero Dawn.
He said he was happy, smiling, because Horizon Zero Dawn was shut out of the gaming awards. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, whatever. But then a few minutes later, he's talking about how he wants to see every company do well. Well, do you want to see him do well? Or do you want to see him get shut out at video game awards time after time? What is it? I mean, which one? because that's two opposite sides of the spectrum there. That's not the same thing. That's not being a gamer. That is more of the definition of being biased than any of these gaming journalists out there. I mean, they need not look further than themselves when it comes to the definition of bias.
Well, in their minds, it's okay because they're not journalists. They have no professional responsibility or
But
responsibility
even a
to.
journalist, Enrique, even a journalist can have a preference,
Oh,
and they
absolutely.
can and they can note that as such.
That's human
But
nature.
but because preference is fine, I have no qualms with that. When it comes down to somebody saying, you know, I want to see that company fail, that's just ridiculous. Like I was telling you, I'm not a fan of Nintendo. Okay. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of their games anymore. But I would never say I want to see Nintendo fail. Why? Because I think more competition, the better. I am
Absolutely.
happy that Nintendo is doing well. I'm praising Nintendo because they're doing well. I want to see that game they got coming out. What is it? Bayonetta 3.
Banana
I'm
three.
not even a fan of the game, but I'm happy for the people that are because they're getting this game. That's awesome. If it's all about that, that's how they should be. That's exactly how they should be. They could say they're a fan of Xbox, but they should praise the other side as well and say and be honest, be real. Hey, HZD wasn't my thing, but it was a good. I could see where some would say it was a great game. Be honest. Don't just sit there and say, "Oh, HZD was boring. It was a really bad game. It was just wasn't fun." Like, come off it. That wasn't fun. But you're raving about Sea of Thieves. You're raving about these games that a lot of other people have trashed. And I'm not talking about biased people either. I'm talking about people who are in the middle of the road here, neutrals, have completely trashed. But HZD, terrible game. I mean, come on, it's laughable.
Yeah. The part that's really disheartening too is that these guys are really misleading their listeners. Um, they're putting out a lot of misinformation, and look, they're for lack of a better word, they're taking advantage of their own insecurities, the insecurities of their listeners, and they're monetizing that. I mean, think about that. They're making money off of you,
Yep.
and this is why they do, in part, what they do. And that's the part, like, people need to kind of wake up and see that, like, you're being finessed, you're being hustled.
Yeah. They're, and these fanboys are being finessed by these IGNs and GameSpots and stuff when they put out clickbait titles.
Yeah,
That's all they're doing, and it's working.
it is. That's why they keep doing
Every
it. Yeah.
every Xbox podcast this week, I've seen it, has the title about the that whole thing about IGN saying that it's an expensive free game. And to me, I just sit back and chuckle every time I saw it. I was like, "Gosh, really? A
But
game?"
it is expensive to pay $500 to get a game in game preview.
Yeah, I know
That's
exactly
not
what they were
cheap.
doing, but you and I know what they were doing. Yes, they were saying that, but at the same time, it was a clickbaity title. It was to pull them in.
And it worked. But here's the thing, like reading that article, like, it doesn't bother me because I recognize that, you know what, it is an expensive console.
Ryan in chat, he says, remember when all the Xbox One X sold out stories were going on? He's right about that. Because I mean, you were able to find Xbox One X's, even day one editions.
I found Scorpios 2 weeks after release.
Yep. So yeah, that stuff doesn't help either. When fanboys say that sort of stuff, it's again, I guess it's not laughable anymore. Honestly, it's getting to the point where it's sad. It's really sad because you've got these guys that are they're grown men first, and they're so hell bent on creating this facade that everything is fine with their console of choice. And it's not even, it doesn't even have to be Xbox per se. It could be any console manufacturer out there. But whenever these fanboys are so hell bent on this whole thing where it's like, I want to see the other companies go down. I want my company to be on top all the time. It doesn't help anything. It helps nobody. Like
But
honestly, when this gen started and I saw the PlayStation 4
mhm,
rising above, and and last gen it was the 360, I was happy for that. And I told people that. I said, this is great because this will stop Xbox from any type of, this will change them. They'll turn around. They'll move forward and they'll do something better now. At least that's the thought process, right? They've got competition now. They've got to move ahead somehow. It's just unfortunate with the Xbox that I don't know if it's the team in place that they have or if it's a lack of fundage. I don't know, but there's problems there. And there's also a direction they're going that is completely different from what we've known them to be in the past.
mhm,
Or it's a combination of the all three,
yeah.
which could be.
You know, going back to the media and them being critical of the Xbox, and you brought this up, Jay. It's because of the struggles, and if you're being real about it, Microsoft has struggled mightily this generation. From a hardware perspective, they certainly have to, I think, turn things around with the X. You and I have talked, offline about
Yep.
the X and how great of a console it is. I mean, you look at Digital Foundry's findings on The Witcher 3, and I think Colt tweeted this out that they were saying that the game on the Xbox One X is running better than computers. I forget what Nvidia card, but basically like almost like $1,000
It was
computer.
like a 1060 and on the other side it was an AMD 580, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So and I think Colt gave like a numerical value to that, like dollar wise or something like that, but
Yeah, $800, I
eight
think.
hundred bucks. And I'm thinking to myself, wow,
That's great.
that's great. Like that's the kind of stuff that people should be talking about. Like, whoa, like
Yeah.
this is great. I mean, if more games start coming out like this for that console, that's a great value add.
Yeah.
And
No,
kudos to Microsoft for engineering this, console that can do that.
the X is a great console. It honestly is. I cannot knock the console itself, but they do need to work on some exclusive titles for it.
I
That's
agree.
that's obvious. For any of these guys to tell their followers that they don't need that because multiplats rule the world, they're idiots. Complete fucking idiots when they say that. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but you're a moron if you think that exclusives don't matter at all. And sure, they could post these top 10 games that are sold between PS4 and Xbox every year, that the top 10s usually, always multiplats. I get that. But at the same time, there are people out there who buy consoles or secondary consoles strictly for those exclusive games. I'm one of them.
And Jay, there's actually a correlation between exclusive content that sells well and third party content that sells best on a specific platform. And if you
Yeah.
look at Sony this gen, 9 times out of 10, their third party releases are selling best, but they also have exclusive content that's selling
And
well too.
what you also have to look at is this. When you have a console, and I have to use Sony here. When you have the PlayStation 4 and they have so many different types of exclusive offerings out there for people, not everybody's going to be out to get that same exclusive game, but they might want that other exclusive game they offer. There are so many options. This year alone in 2017, we've seen an abundance of exclusive games come out for the PlayStation 4 that it was at the beginning of this year anyway. It was crazy. Like, you had your Yakuzas, you had your HZDs, you had your smaller titles from Japan. Like, you had all kinds of games come out, Neo, and they had so many different things that, of course, not everything's going to appeal to everybody, but there was something there for everybody. And people did buy the console just to play those titles. And that's a fact.
Well, actually, and that's if you go back to MPD and Matt was when we had Matt on BRAP. Matt was saying that there was definitely a strong correlation between the increase in console sales early this year with the release of exclusive content.
Yes.
And there you go. I mean,
Yes.
look at what Sony did in March, 325 or 350,000 units. That's absurd. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. And, you know, anybody who says that exclusives don't matter, all they need to do is look to Nintendo. That flies in the face of that argument all day and night, because they are the exclusive masters and they bring people into buying their consoles year after year. Those people can sell a console right out the gate, no matter what they're pushing with it. All they have to do is say one word like Zelda or Metroid, and boom, it's sold. Exclusives do matter.
Oh, they do. They absolutely do. And I think, you know, it's funny, but you know what's going to happen. You know, if there was more exclusives, the fanboys wouldn't be saying that. You know, we saw it early in the console gen when they were saying, "Oh, Sony's sparse. You know, they don't have any exclusives, and we had all the exclusives." Right now, all of a sudden, the exclusives don't matter.
Yeah, I think I I think this whole power narrative, and I said this about a month, like right before the X was about to drop, I started to talk about, well, I was struggling with this internally because I was thinking about,
Mhm.
you know, this power narrative versus why did people buy the PS4 over the Xbox? And you know, initially, I still stick with my guns. I say that they initially bought it because of all the fuck ups from Microsoft in the beginning. When they, you know, put their foot in their mouths about the DRM, when they were, you know, Donnie Matrick was talking about how, you know, if you don't want to be online, there's a console for you and all this stuff. You know, they just did too much,
Wait,
too soon.
I just, Jay, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to address something real quick. Samuel in the live chat says, I hate saying his name. According to a certain fanboy, he thinks
Yeah.
since most of those exclusives aren't first party, Sony didn't really have a good lineup. And I've heard this from other people. That's not the point. It's irregardless of whether it was from Sony's first party or second party, whatever the case is. The fact of the matter is, those games you can only play them on the PlayStation 4. That's all that matters. That's
Yep.
all that matters.
In the console space, yeah, you had like Nier Automata, you had Neo,
Yeah.
you had so many offerings from PlayStation that you could not play with the Xbox nor the Switch, that it just became that go-to console for a lot more offerings. And that's
But
what people have to understand. Like, that to me is sort of an exclusive.
but Jay, that's the problem. You can't. These people like this is the part that blows my mind. It's not so much that it's a Sony first party exclusive. It's the fact that it's exclusive to their console. The most a consumer doesn't differentiate. Oh, this is a Sony first party title versus this is a Sony exclusive third party title. They see it as I can only play this on PlayStation 4, and that's
Oh,
it.
J Dubs joined us.
J Dubs, what's up,
Hey,
man?
hey, what's going on, guys? Just catching the podcast. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, I agree with 100% what you guys are saying. It's all factual. You know, at the end of the day, we need to remind ourselves what brought people to the Xbox 360. It was seeing the video footage of Gears of War.
Woo!
I mean, seeing that big creature come out.
You remember that?
This
What?
is what brought people over to the platform, and that is what gave the freaking whole gaming division of the company its identity. Is the exclusives. Of course, the multiplats are great, and they're always going to be there, but you have to have an identity. And you know, again, I agree with you guys. You cannot dismiss exclusives. When people go to the store and you say, "Hey, mom, I want this video system or whatever," when they go to the store, they're gonna want to see games that are stand out. You know, if you look on the shelf and you see Call of Duty on this side and Call of Duty on this side, there is nothing standing out. But when you go there and you see Spider-Man and other games, and you see this big Gears of War up there, then that is something that you're not going to see in another person's shelf. And it matters. It matters.
Holy shit, dude. I'm sorry to butt in, but I'm looking at Twitter and people are posting some crazy stuff on UFOs right now.
Really?
It wasn't a UFO. It was SpaceX. They launched their rocket, and
man, that was crazy looking. Holy crap!
No, it
looked like the end of the world, man.
Yeah.
Dude. Hey, you know what? What better way to do it on a podcast there?
That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's some crazy stuff. Hey, man, you never know. Trump's in office. Could be.
Hey, man.
You know what, man?
You're right.
Yeah, that's a whole nother rant.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother rant. But
yeah, you're right, Jay, though. I don't understand. Like you've heard us talk, man. Some of these dudes, they have so much influence over the community. They can use it for better good out there.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's the thing, guys. I think we all know it. We all know. You can either be toxic or you can be good. And you find out the people who are extremely toxic. When I say toxic, I mean, come on. They just say stuff. You think they go to sleep with tinfoil hats on their head. And people kind of shun away from that, but there are a lot of people who gravitate towards that, and you'll see their subscriber base grow and grow, and you just shake your head and wonder why. And I think it's because a lot of people really want to believe that something is true when it's not true, or something, people want to believe in that. People want to believe that exclusives don't matter because they don't have them right now. And eventually, once they get them, then exclusives will matter again.
Well, that's what I said earlier to Jay. I said, a couple of years ago when Andrew House came out and he acknowledged, he's like, look, our exclusive content's a little sparse. Fanboys on the other side ran with that, and at the time Microsoft was dropping a lot of exclusives.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that Recore.
Yeah, they remember the greatest lineup in Xbox history?
Voodoo Vince.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Voodoo Vince, Jesus.
Phantom Dust.
You got to stop, man. I can't wrap my mind around that. But
he's summing up 2017, basically.
But this is the thing. Like, people need to understand something. Like, listening to these guys isn't doing anything positive for the Xbox brand. If anything, it's damaging the community. It's damaging the brand. And I've always said this from day one.
People are really believing that there is a media bias against Xbox. And that's what's really damaging right now.
But people don't understand what bias means. This is the problem. Yeah. When I say to people, if the media was really biased, they wouldn't be singing the praises of the Xbox One X when it released. They wouldn't write articles saying, yeah, you know what? Microsoft did a really good job. This doesn't feel like kind of a half step compared to the PS4 Pro, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't come out and say, when we talked about this earlier, Jay, when Sony said, hey, you know what, we don't want EA access because we don't think it's a good value for our gamers.
Yes.
The media came out and said, no, fuck you guys. You guys can't tell us. Sony can't tell us what's a good value for us.
There's been bad articles written against Sony's online streaming service.
Yes,
yep. And the PS Now, and
I personally dogged it. I don't like it.
Listen, even diehard Sony guys know that service is not good. It's not a good value.
It's garbage.
The only way it's going to be utilized is if they implement, which I hope they do, stick it and make it part of your regular PSN subscription, and then people will go there and give it a try, and then your expectations will be a lot lower than spending $20 to $30 a month on something that is crap.
I agree with you, Jay. I think that's the only way people are going to see value in it. I don't see value in it. I think it's overpriced.
Yeah. I
don't care to pay for that. I think it's an additional service that I already pay, $50, $60 a year.
Yeah. I honestly like, I like Game Pass. I like downloading the games to my console, playing it off there. My son really loves Game Pass. I think that's a phenomenal value. If
it is
a ton of games on there he hasn't played, it's awesome.
No, you're right, and that's
why.
Wait,
Jay, are you agreeing with us?
I am. Can you believe that?
Most people would never. Most people would be shocked by that.
Listen, I mean, it's. I mean, hey, the truth is the truth. They did it right, and you know, I even acknowledged that while I'm not that particular customer for that that particular service, it's great for guys who have very little games or just getting into the ecosystem. It's a great offer to be able to spend, you know, $10 and get access to all of those games, including the backwards compatibility games. Now, while I say I'm not the target of that, is because I buy all of the Xbox games, so I bought all of those games that they're offering. You know, I've bought the Rise on the Rome, the Sunset Overdrives, and you know the Records and all of those games that they're throwing on there. So I am not that. I wouldn't really benefit from it because I already own those games. But there's millions who haven't.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like Nels Coney in chat says that you know he's not interested in older games. I understand that, but at the same time, like when I did download Game Pass earlier this year, I found that there was like 4 games that I had never played last gen, and I played them and I loved them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I played 4 games for $10.
Yeah.
That's actually bad.
You can't beat that. And you know what? Even if it's not, again, like I said, even if it's not for me, it's for millions of more people. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. The majority find it of great value. Now, here's the problem that I have with, and I've said it before, and I'll kind of say it again with backwards compatibility. I love backwards compatibility, but it should be an add-on to, it shouldn't be your main focus. You should have all the new content, and then it should be a secondary. Hey, by the way, we have the old backwards compatibility games in case you guys are interested in it. But right now, it seems like there's a lack of new content, and then the big focus is on the older content, and that's the disparity that I've had with that. And I do want Microsoft to push for more new content because, again, gaming is a selfish hobby, and again, the older games does not benefit me because I've already played them, I've already beat them, and most of those I already have stored in the closet with my old 360, with my OG Xbox, you know, Xbox console. So I have that already. I want the new experiences. And so again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we'll ever see like new games coming out in a service like Game Pass. I don't know, because you know that
we
takes
might
away
maybe
from,
in the future.
What about I mean, even guys, even if it's okay, you guys remember at E3, Microsoft showed, supposedly they say they had 40 something new games or whatever, but the bulk of those were indie titles. What if they include those indie titles part of that?
Oh, that's a steal. That to me, that I would sign up.
Exactly. But guess what?
That's
those
huge.
are new indies. Those are new experiences. So guess what? There's value there for me now. So now you're covering both sides of the equation. Now, guys, you complain you don't have new content, and now guys, you know, can't just be stuck, you know, with the old content. Now it's a win-win for both sides.
You know what I could see them doing in the future, definitely though, is say when a game is 6 months out, maybe even a year, then putting it back in a service like that, you know, and that would be amazing. You know, that would be awesome for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
there's definitely some games that for this gen, you know, are a year old. Some are a little bit older than that I haven't played yet that I'd love to play. But yeah, I mean that's the thing with the whole media bias thing. It's, you know, if they were really biased, they wouldn't be praising, complimenting Microsoft when they do really good things. They wouldn't be critical of Sony when Sony, you know, makes these excuses of, well, not just Sony, but you know, well, yeah, I mean Sony with the whole, was it the I forget who his name, the guy from Sony always puts his foot in his mouth. Shit, what's his name? I can't remember. Do you guys remember
from what company?
From Sony. I think he's like one of the Sony guys in Europe.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. He's the main UK guy.
Yeah, and he's always putting his foot in his mouth. But when the whole crossplay thing came out,
Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan, thank you. I mean, The media has been critical of Jim Ryan's comments.
Yeah.
So you can't come out there and say media bias when Sony does something. Trust me, the media calls him out. They called him out on crossplay. They called out Jim Ryan for giving his reason for crossplay for Sony not allowing crossplay.
True, that's true.
They did. They buried him.
Yep.
Because they said, "Go ahead, Jay."
More than one media company did it. IGN did it. I want to say Greg said some stuff. Ryan McCaffrey said some stuff. A lot of the people were very vocal about that. And it's and whether it doesn't matter whose side you're on. At the end of the day, you have to hold Microsoft to a certain standard as you hold Sony and Nintendo. And here's the thing: last generation, when Xbox was doing very well with the 360, guess what? They nailed it, and they had all the accolades, and everyone was on their side. This is just the way things go. This generation, there's not much to talk about on the Xbox side, or a lot of stuff. There's a lot of mishaps, a lot of missteps, a lot of misspeaks. Digital Foundry didn't help the situation because they're exposing a lot of stuff that that was said supposed to be the opposite, but that's just the way it goes. It's always going to be ups and down, but there's no Illuminati people, media holding Xbox back. The only thing that's holding Xbox back is the executives, and they're in charge of bringing in new clients and new customers, and that's their job to sell that, not the media to try to sell you a game.
But I also have to bring it back to what we started talking about at the beginning too. It's also a really big problem when a certain percentage of fan base attacks these media outlets. It just really puts a bad spin on the brand. It makes them dislike the brand because of these crazies out there, these fans, these oddballs.
Yeah, they call them the rabbit fanboys, and here's the thing about it. I mean, the more you attack developers, the more you attack the media. Do you think they're going to be really nice to you, or they're probably going to really start being biased against you just to shut you up and just to kind of stick it to you? I don't know, and it's kind of hard because it's not the whole community, but there are some loudmouths that really stand out, and regardless of what we say, they are influential for a lot of people. You can look at their subs.
But you know what though? It's what's the issue too now is what's happening is so we've had Ryan McCaffrey on BRAP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan won't do podcasts anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the way the community's been.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree with his decision. And you know why? It's because think about it right now. He shows up on BRAP. And he talks about something that they don't want to hear. All of a sudden, he's going to become a fanboy. They're going to attack him. They're going to attack, any and everything about him. And therefore, a lot of people are going to feel like his credibility is shot. I mean, and this is nuts. This is really nuts. But what we could do, though, in us as a community, as a gaming community, not just one side or the other, but we need to start calling these guys out, and we need to start shunning them. But we can't remain silent.
But Jay, what's funny, man, is I get criticized for doing that.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And I'm getting criticized by guys who are on other podcasts that are positive, like Xbox podcasts.
Yeah.
That could take that platform that they have, and speak out against this stuff, and they should.
I've seen some of these guys tell you, well, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. No, it is worth it because it's what's happening is we're all getting lumped in. We're all getting lumped in together.
Yes,
where developers, and I've had this conversation with developers and journalists alike. They look at the Xbox community as a toxic community. And they know who some of these guys are, the mooches, the crap gamers, and they assume that most people follow those guys.
Yeah, that's true.
That's unfortunate.
And keep in mind now, just to be fair, even Phil Spencer has blocked these guys, or he stopped communicating with these guys because he knows that it's toxic for his brand and it's toxic for the community, and that's not what he wants. So, if this is the head guy and he's saying, "Hey, I'm staying away from these guys. They're freaking, crazy." Then I think the community can step up. Now, I've had some of my Xbox friends that have bigger channels and networks and stuff. I asked them that. I was like, "Hey, well, why don't you guys just speak out against it and tell the people, hey, let's come together. We need to speak out about this because we don't want to be lumped in with the tinfoil hat guys." And their response was they try, they get attacked, and people threaten to unsub from them. I mean, literally.
Mhm.
And a lot of those guys are just not willing to risk it, so they just ignore it and act like it doesn't exist. But then
That
again, like you
is
said,
the
you get
problem.
lumped in together as a group, and it's like, you can be Xbox centric. Nothing is wrong with that. If that's your preferred platform of choice, nothing is wrong with that. But at the end of the day, when some guy over here is saying some crazy stuff, people don't see just that one guy. They're going to think, hey, there's a couple of these guys around here, so that whole community must be, like that. And again, that's pretty. I mean, you guys see me on Twitter. You see me making fun and light of it. Again, I'm picking on the guys who it matters the most. I'm picking on the guys who are just so emotional and so crazy about this stuff. And I'm making fun of the whole console war thing. I'm making fun. I'm making light of it. At the end of the day, I mean, you guys, some of you guys have played with me and stuff like that, but I own all the consoles. But I would like to see that stigma of the particular community, the Xbox community. I would like that to go away.
Yeah, but it won't because of what you said. A lot of these people are afraid to speak up because they're afraid to lose subs. They're afraid. They believe that they truly need these people, and they don't.
They don't need
They
them.
don't need them.
Yeah.
These guys, like, if they could only see that these guys are shunned by their own brand, the brand that they praise the most, they're shunned by.
Yeah.
Yet you're going to follow them? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's not like that. That's one thing I found out about the gaming community, and not as a whole. So this doesn't speak to everybody. Don't feel offended, but there is a lot of just guys and girls out there that are lacking in common sense.
Oh, let's like, again, not understanding what the definition of bias is.
Just like illogical, no common sense. There's just so much missing in this community that it baffles me how these people get around in life, everyday life. It
Jay,
baffles me.
The funniest thing is, speaking of lack of logic, and it gets bad when people from the industry have to address the community.
Yes.
Like, guys, like, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the PUBG review. Oh my God, why is IGN doing a review of PUBG? They didn't do it for art. They didn't do it for Conan. This is a conspiracy. Like, why are they doing? And I'm thinking to myself, dude, like, people.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Step back. God. Let's think about this. Why do you think they're doing a review of a game that is the biggest game?
Yes.
That's had the most hype
of the year.
It is console gen.
Mm-hmm.
Forget this whole year. Probably this console gen.
Yeah. Over 30 million.
And by the way, why wouldn't they do a review of a game that is sold physically at retail? Yep. I mean, I don't know. Call me, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to me.
There's been commercials, there's been advertisement, there's been so much talk about it. You can't, obviously, you can't expect the media to just be quiet about this game and say, it's in preview, so we're just going to skip over it. Can you imagine the backlash? I mean, even Microsoft themselves will be like, hey, guys, pay attention. We want to sell this thing.
Again, well, let's be logical here. Let's flip this. If that game had been running buttery smooth at 60 frames per second, been looking beautiful on the X, and there was no review on this game, all hell would have broken loose.
Yeah.
Why aren't people? Why aren't the journalists talking about this game? Why aren't they reviewing it? They would have done that.
Yep.
But see, people don't think. They don't think that, this game is a huge, hot, trending game. This game has been big on PC for quite a few months now, and this game is finally on console and it's being sold again. Enrique said in retail, of course,
Yes.
it's going to be reviewed.
Yep.
Look, and the bottom line is this is a commercial product.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hottest commercial products. Of course, the media is going to cover this, given how big of a story PUBG is, given its success. I don't understand why this is so fucking hard for people to understand. Let me tell you something. I pull hairs sometimes thinking, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Like, what? Seriously, like, how is this not easy for you to figure out? You know,
you know what it is. I'm going to just throw it out there on the line. This is not even about games, guys. It's about not wanting your competition to have the upper hand. That's what it is. It's not even about gaming, because the bulk of these guys don't even game. They use the gaming community as a gateway to spread their retardism, and their toxic, and try to make revenue off of being toxic. And they add zero value to the community. Zero.
That's a great point. They add no value to the community, and their behavior is anti-consumer.
Yeah. Oh, the behavior is just terrible, man. We don't even have to get into much past the racist stuff that we've heard.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
another thing. Some of their fans will actually, I've been argued with over this person is measuring the level of racism, saying, well, what they said wasn't as racist as this or that. Yeah. Well, it doesn't fucking matter. If it's racist to somebody out there, it's racist.
Yeah.
Racism is racism. I mean, I don't understand how you could grade racism and say, well, you know what? They didn't say the N-word, so it's not as bad. So I can look past that. No, racism is racism.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things you don't say. And what has been done by these people and continues to be done by them it's still ongoing, is stuff you can't do on the radio, you can't do on TV, you can't do in movies. It's not done. Why? Because it's racist.
Yep.
But it's okay because it's a podcast on YouTube. It's not even a podcast, it's a live stream.
I want to say something real quick. Go back to, we were talking about the whole PUBG thing and how people were like, people were giving Destin Lagaria a hard time on IGN about this. And someone from the industry who we've had on a guest, he tweeted this out. Any fans arguing against a commercial product available for sale being reviewed are more anti-consumer than many of the industry practices they complain about.
Yep.
And when I retweeted this, of course, because that was dead on. And that's the problem. These people are exhibiting anti-consumer behaviors, and they're just, I'm telling you, because I and this is kind of like for me, and I mentioned this to you earlier, Jay, and I own the OG Xbox, and as a gamer, I've kind of like, much like Nintendo in some ways, I've kind of grown up with them,
Yeah,
me too.
And I've seen Microsoft go through the OG Xbox, and really, to me, that's one of my favorite consoles from them. Come out and deliver great content, be aggressive, and I think back how the community used to be, where everyone's just talking about games and just, the next exclusive we were looking forward to see it like this.
Yeah.
It's like we went from the mansion to the crack house.
True.
And that's why I speak out against it, because I'm passionate about it. Because I've always enjoyed this brand.
Yeah, Salty's Gaming said the media bias stuff is dumb. Yeah, that's because he's an Xbox guy who's pretty level-headed. Salty.
Yeah.
He understands.
Like Salty, he does his podcast, talks about Xbox for daily news, right? That's it.
Yep. Doesn't need the bullshit.
Yeah.
He's not clickbaiting. He's not doing some crazy shit. And he understands that stuff is just, it's just dumb. It's conspiracy bullshit. It makes no sense.
Guys, at first I thought that a lot of these guys were, kind of like me. Some of these guys were trolling. And then I realized these guys are serious.
Yeah, they take this shit to heart.
Yeah, when you start getting death threats and stuff gets real. It gets very real.
Yeah, Jay, you got death threats recently, right?
I did over the whole PUBG thing. Me making light and fun of the whole PUBG performance issue. Granted, I bought multiple copies and gave copies out, but some kind of way I still got death threats because I was, speaking about Digital Foundry in their video and stuff like that. And again, these guys take this stuff personal to heart. And again, these are the guys who need to be called out and they need to be shunned from the community.
I'm still shocked by a conversation I had today and a few months ago when there was a certain individual in the community who was harassing a game journalist over a review that was like 3 years old.
Yes.
And I remember this individual being on a podcast I used to be on, and someone that I was close to, and it just amazed me the fact that people are so willing to kind of turn a blind eye to these things, and that's just, it's not good. It only enables this behavior, encourages it.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, if for you guys out there that's listening, if you are ever in a toxic podcast where there's racism going on, whether there's, someone being treated, just totally wrong, whether it's not specifically about gaming and helping the gaming community get better and just talking about the issues that really matter, please unsub, stop watching, because the more time that you spend watching these guys and sub to these guys, the more revenue they're going to get and the more they're going to be emboldened. Just walk out, go and find another podcast. There are plenty of great guys out there that talk about the stuff that informs the gamers, actually about games and gaming, and not, and just not the trash. You don't want to be part of the trash. Trust me. So you guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to this podcast right here.
Thank you for that endorsement, Jay. I appreciate it.
That's funny.
Oh man, it's just, I after this week, man, I had to do this rant, especially after today.
Yeah, you get fed up, right? I mean, sometimes you can look at it and it goes on, and at some time you're gonna be like, hey, this 2018 is coming up. Can we as a community get together and just stop the nonsense?
Yeah, and there's more important things for us to really be focused on.
Yes.
Jay Fonz, your favorite topic, loot crates.
Yep.
Yeah, you got loot crates. You've got
microtransactions,
net
neutrality. Yeah. That should be stuff that the guys get over, just bent out of shape over. But that stuff, they don't even mention it.
No.
Exactly.
Let's cry about IGN making a stupid article on, free games expensive. Come on.
Yes.
It's not even worth it.
Yep. Yeah, there's actually things out there that can actually really negatively impact us, like net neutrality and the whole loot crates thing. And by the way, Jay, did you see that Apple is requiring developers to
yes,
disclose, right?
Yep.
And that's the right way to go.
Yep. That way you clean out the trash.
Yeah, they have to disclose the
winning percentages, the odds on winning.
Yeah.
Boxes.
Because keep in mind, some states now have declared microtransactions and all of that stuff. They've declared it basically like gambling. So they want to know.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to go. That's what's going to go down in all our games with loot boxes. I think they're going to start having to disclose certain things, and they'll leave it at that. I don't think it's going to be a 21 or over thing. I don't think it'll go that route. And I really don't want, big government in our games anyway. It's not what we don't need that.
To tell you the truth, the only reason the government really cares is not because of us. They care because they see the amount of revenue coming in and they want a piece of the pie. They want to be able to tax it.
Get that money.
Yep. And when this whole thing started, I mean, just look at Grand Theft Auto 5. The
God.
game is old as all outdoors, and yet not only did it sell so many copies, it still make NPD chart month after month, and that is nuts. And the kicker is the amount of revenue that they've made with microtransactions.
46% of the revenue.
Yes.
Funny about that game. Here's what's weird to me about that game. It was a great game, but
it was.
Man, like it's not that good. People, it's not that good for it to be still charting and selling all these shark cards and everything. I do not get the appeal.
Yeah.
Games as a service, man.
Well, yes. And so this is the damaging side, okay? Just because that one game was really successful with this, again, I can't knock the developers for doing that, because here they gave you a full-fledged game that was, the single player story was long. It was pretty good. They didn't cut any corners. And they gave you a multiplayer, and they've been supporting the multiplayer aspect for years. And so I'm not going to knock them for that. I'm going to say they deserved it. Hey, they delivered off of the $59 that I paid for them. I don't feel like I was robbed on that. I don't feel like they held any content back and held it behind a paywall. I really don't. I could play that game and enjoy it online and offline without spending a dime, because I literally have never spent any dime on that game. But for the guys who are really enjoying it, for buying, houses and weapons and stuff, kudos to them. But a lot of other developers are looking at this as an opportunity to cut content out, to, hide it behind the paywall, and to do it for the wrong reasons. And you don't want that to start.
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember the last time I bought any kind of loot box or anything like that. I can't. It's been so long. Geez, man, it's been years.
Let me ask you this: Would you guys mind?
Bullshit to me.
Yeah. Would you guys mind spending an extra $10 on a game? Let's say instead of $59, it's $69 for that game, and not have any microtransactions or loot boxes.
It's never going to happen.
Well, I wouldn't mind that, I guess, but in a way I would, because I know they don't need it.
Yeah, that's true.
To me, like everything I've seen, all the looking around and digging around I've done, and hearing what other people have come up with too, based on, actual figures and numbers from some of these companies. A $60 price tag nowadays, when the cost of goods sold have actually dropped by 35% within the last 7 years, is a good price for the games now. That's what people don't realize, that costs of certain things have gone down with the making of these games, and people don't understand that you have to take everything into account. $60, they're still making money off that $60 price tag.
Hey,
and then they've got their DLCs that they're making money off of as well.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Justin Maroney. He just said horse armor. This all started with horse armor. Damn, Oblivion,
man. That's the first time I was ever, that's the first piece of thing I've ever bought, as far as DLC or loot, whatever, was that damn horse armor. And it was that when I put that on my horse and I started to ride around, and I go, okay, so what does this do? Nothing. My horse still got killed. It didn't make any difference. And it just looked stupid. It was nothing. Yeah. And it was at that moment I was like, geez, that I feel ripped off.
You guys know when I thought it was the worst. This is when it really opened my eyes. The new Need for Speed. If you bought the collector's edition, guess what you got?
What?
What's that?
Blue smoke. Blue smoke in game. So when you burn rubber, it's blue smoke. So you spend $80, $90 for a collector's edition, and that's all you got. Blue smoke. This is when I knew EA, obviously we've been known for decades. EA is
EA.
But you know what? Back then it was harmless things like that weren't intrusive into the game. You didn't feel like the game was being designed around certain things that you had to buy. Whereas nowadays that's starting to creep into our games. Yes. And that is the problem with these loot boxes or, these DLCs and stuff. And that is a problem because now, like, you got to look at the DLC with one eyebrow raised, because you've got games like Destiny 2 that just dropped a DLC that removed content you had with the game, the initial launched game. They removed content that you can only have now with the DLC, which was bullshit. Yeah. And I think they put it back after some backlash, but still, the point is they tried it, and this is going to be tried again in the future. They will continue to do some dirty, underhanded things to try to get people to spend more money. And it's going to happen. That's why people, gamers like myself, that get told constantly, Fonz, stop talking about loot crates. Stop talking against this stuff. We don't want to hear it. It's boring. Well, guess what? I can never stop talking about it because this is important. These are things that are important in gaming. We need to keep aware of what's going on because they will try to fuck us over. And it'll be guys like myself, guys that are more popular online, speaking up against it, that will help lead the crusade for this stuff. And we have to keep talking.
Rightfully so. If not, guess what? We're gonna have to spend $50 for a game, and come home, you pop the game in, you start, you hit the start button on the controller, and guess what? The whole game is one big microtransaction. Hey, in order to start the first level, $3.99.
Well, already you're buying a game on disc, you're bringing it home, you're putting it in, and you're having to download
the game. Yeah. Yep.
You don't even own the game anymore.
No.
That
even
disc
if you have the physical, even if you have the physical, it's nothing.
It's crazy to me,
Not like how it used to be in the old days, for sure.
Yeah. And even though Nintendo went back to cartridges, you still have to download content.
Yeah, no, you do. You're right. You do.
Yeah. I mean, there's very little content on the cartridge. There's maybe some DRM stuff to some copy protection stuff, but other than that, you have to download freaking 20 gigs. So,
yeah, Jim Sterling's doing a great job. Tarmac is another one who I really enjoy listening to about loot crates. There's a bunch of them out there, and it's awesome that we have these people that are fighting the good fight, and people need to speak up against this shit because Yang Yi is another one.
Yeah,
he's a good one.
Well, and I do applaud the community for what they did with Battlefront. A lot of them say, "Look, I'm not buying it," and they just didn't go buy it, and that game lost a lot of revenue, up to the tune of $6 billion.
That's
because
awesome.
of it. But I don't want this just to be a one-time deal. I want it to be multiple times. For any company that comes and bring this crap, we need to stand together and say, "Nope, not buying." And while people are yelling about media bias, when the media reports on this stuff, we need to applaud them for reporting on it. You guys that are doing podcasts and stuff like that, when you report on it, you need to be applauded for that, because there are some guys sitting around talking about some crap that we don't care about, has absolutely nothing to do with gaming, or is toxic to the gaming and or to the gaming community rather. And they're letting all this stuff just come in, and they're just accepting all of it.
I agree 110%, man. That's why I take issue with this stuff, because there's other things out there that have certainly can negatively impact us. I mean, look, even if the media was biased, at the end of the day, it's not going to impact us.
Yeah.
Personally, as consumers, it's just not. You're going to go out, you're going to buy your Xbox, you're going to buy your PlayStation.
Yep.
And you're going to buy what you want to buy, and that's it. That's it.
And you know what? And you could always go back to magazine articles and stuff written from years ago when it comes to gaming, and you could tell which editor or which journalist had a preference to what console or not. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious some of them have preferences, but when somebody comes out, a journalist, and they say something good about a brand, I think you should take that into consideration. If you truly believe that there is media bias, they will not come out and give kudos where it's due. They will continually bash the console no matter what. But they don't do that. It's not happening all the time. And that was the reasoning for my tweet about IGN giving the awards to Cuphead. Not necessarily the one about, Game of the Year on Xbox, because yes, they have to pick a Game of the Year on Xbox, but giving best art direction or whatnot. That they could have, if they were truly biased, they could have given that away to Horizon Zero Dawn or some other game, just to be fucked up.
They had no choice, man. They had to.
No, they had a choice.
They've picked sides.
But that is what I'm saying. Is there may be preference, but it's not bias.
Well, that's the thing. People confuse preference and bias. And that was my point earlier. That individual that we were having a chat with on Twitter, he couldn't understand what bias meant. That he was confusing preference and bias. And you know, the other thing too, Jay, and the whole thing that the media picked a side, they even picked a side. That's just ridiculous.
Not as a whole. No.
You know, they're not.
I think the majority of gamers have already chosen a side. That's evident.
Yeah.
Games, the console sales tell that all. You know.
Look, guys, we get on podcasts and we analyze what's going on in the industry regarding video games, regarding sales, regarding, you know, how well the community is doing, you know, just, you know, NPD numbers. We analyze all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that don't like the results, whether you're on one side or the other or the other. You know, there's 3 manufacturers fighting for our dollars. Obviously, there's going to be some salty people who don't like the results, no matter what you get. And these guys, they want something to blame. And so they lash out, you know, at the corporations, they lash out at developers, and they lash out at the media. And it's all rolled up.
But this is how ridiculous this is, though. I mean, if your console isn't top dog in NPD, as long as you enjoy it and you have fun on it, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's what's funny about this whole situation, because a lot of these people claim that they don't care about these numbers, but then at the end of the day, they complain that the media is deliberately steering people to buy the other console. It's like, well, if the numbers don't matter to you, why the fuck do you care? Why do you care?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Your console, like they'll say, I'll say, Microsoft is still making money. At the end of the day, they're still winning.
Yeah,
they're not winning the console war, whatever you want to make of that, but they are still making money.
Yeah,
so they're not losing shit.
They're not even losing money on sales of the Xbox One X.
No, they are winning. So who cares? At the end of the day, your company is doing well. Their focus, their attacking nature on journalism or whatnot is misguided. They need to be focusing on the brand at hand here. They need to be focusing on Microsoft themselves. Who you should be troubled with. That's who you should be going to and saying, hey, where's our exclusive games? Where's this? Where's that? Not the journalists. They have nothing to do with this shit. The negativity and stuff that's surrounding Microsoft is Microsoft's fault.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's been my point for forever. So Ryan Landis says in the live chat, it's just strange to hear an adult defend his console's honor more than his own wife.
Facts.
Has that happened?
That's true. That is true.
This has happened?
It's just troubling to me. Again, it goes back to lack of common sense. A lot of these gamers out there have no common sense.
Yeah.
Zero.
They don't even understand what they're being critical about in most cases. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. There was a individual who's pretty prominent in the Xbox community. I'm not going to say his name because he's a nice guy, but when he came out and he tweeted a thing about, I did some investigating and I'm seeing that, these other early access games weren't reviewed and, PUBG is for Xbox. I wonder why. And I'm just thinking again, like, just dude,
this is a baker.
Yeah. If you don't understand why this game is being reviewed, you don't understand the industry. You can't understand the industry because it's staring you right in the face. The answer is, but you're so caught up in this narrative that's based on lies.
Yeah.
You can't see the truth staring you in
Now,
the face.
I haven't looked into any of this. Maybe you know, J-Dubs. What's this thing about Digital Foundry using the wrong PUBG or something for?
Listen.
What's going on?
Let's
What is this?
honestly, let's stop the BS. The guys are trying to say that they used an old code, older build of the game to do their review. Let's stop that crap, guys.
Wait, didn't they do an analysis like just yesterday about
They did of the new patch that came out, and in some instances it ran worse than the original one, and then in some cases it ran, some things were better. But again, the game is still not optimal form. Yes, you can play it, you can still have fun with it with your friends, but again, whatever you want to say about PUBG or whatever it is what it is. I don't care whether you like it or not, but the point we're trying to make is guys are looking for excuses. Originally, when the game first launched and it was having all these, it found out having all these issues on the Xbox One X, guys, were throwing out there, oh, it's an old build, it's a 6-month-old build and stuff like that. It's going to be patched. And I'm like, guys, stop it. I've had PUBG for a year now on the PC. Okay. We just got vaulting literally 2 weeks ago. The X version has vaulting. So guess what? It is the latest build of the game. So stop it. Does it really matter? As long as you're having fun, just play it.
Why are they even running around saying this
But
stuff?
here's the thing. If you have an issue with it, right, the performance, go to the developers forum website where you can provide feedback and comment on it.
Yeah.
And that's all you got to do. It's just, the whole conspiracy thing, and now Digital Foundry, and I don't get it. I think people just want to look for things to complain about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And look, and some of the issues that Digital Foundry talked about, like some of the rubber banding issues.
Yeah,
I've experienced that in the game, so they're not making that up either.
Yeah, but you also have guys that are saying, "Oh, my copy of the game plays great. I don't know what you guys are complaining about." It's like, stop.
Come on.
Stop
we all have bad copies except for this guy, right?
Yeah, it's like this guy has the special, the updated edition or something.
I will say that like most of the issues I have are, of course, in the lobby. You're running around outside the plane or when you're parachuting down. But once you hit the ground, it does take a few seconds for it to stop stuttering and shit. Like you get, there's issues there. And then every once in a while, yes, you'll get a hiccup here and there. It happens in the game. I still have fun with the game. I think it's mad fun, but to say that it's issue free, you're lying.
Yeah,
you're lying.
But it's in early access.
Yeah, no, and I don't have any problems with it. I don't have any problems with it being in early access, it having some issues right now. I don't have problems with that. What I have problems with is people lying on both ends of the spectrum. You have some people saying that it has no issues, then you have others saying that it's so bad it's unplayable, which is wrong.
No, it's not. It's not. It's playable, but there's issues.
Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. And this comes down to Digital Foundry. Okay, we've known for several years now that guys on both sides, yes, Pony Foundry 1 week, and then it's Microsoft is cutting a check the next week. So that's the back and forth that goes on both sides. But I don't even mind that. That's great. And this is why I do what I do, because several years ago, analysts have said that the console gaming is dying. Everything was going mobile.
I remember that.
Cell phone, yes. And guess what? We got together and we proved them wrong. We said, no, we do want physical consoles. We want gaming as we always had it since the Atari 2600. Stop trying to change our habits and the way we want gaming. And we proved them wrong. And, gaming is a freaking, hundreds of billions of dollars at stake, and so we've done that. We've reinvigorated the industry, and now Sony's doing good, Nintendo is doing good, Microsoft is doing good. Everyone's eating, everyone's having fun, but now it comes a point in time where things are just getting ridiculous. It's to the point where it's like, come on, man, let's let's stop it. We can admit when a game is bad. We can, I mean, or not bad, but we can admit when there's problems. You know, Nintendo, you know, most of their games run at 30 frames per second. Some struggle to run 30. Guess what? That doesn't stop the sales of the Switch. That doesn't stop those guys from buying those games. The same on the PlayStation and the same as it should be on the Xbox. I mean,
Jay,
at worst case, listen, let me tell you this. At worst case, you can always say, well, look, Microsoft didn't make this game, so we could care less. You know, blame Bluehole. Don't blame Microsoft. You know, something else, but geez.
Hey, Jay Fonzarelli, man. Dude, you and OBJ have me dying here, man.
Yeah. Because they're asking what the captain name's going to be. He said, "Captain, fuck my life." So I'm fuck this game in the game. You know, I look. Sea of Thieves just does nothing for me. The game has always looked bad to me.
Okay, I gotta. So you played it. You probably can't say a lot because you're under NDA. I've heard good things about this, but then like, you know, I speak to Eric Jackson, one of the co-hosts on BRAP, and he's like, "Nah, it's okay." I'm just trying to figure out, like, is it good? Like, what's the deal? Maybe it's one of those things. One of those games, just not for everyone.
Well, you know what, and that's fine because not every game is for everybody anyway. You know, I mean, I don't know. Look at games like, you know, Gravity Rush on the PlayStation.
Definitely not for everyone.
Yes, it's not for everyone. And look at a game like Hellblade. Look at a game like Hellblade. Again, it's not for everyone. This is why it doesn't matter how large your install base, you will never get 100% of the people to buy the game. You will never get 90% or 70 or 60 or you're only going to get a small fraction of the people to buy one particular game. That game that people tends to buy most are your Maddens, your Call of Duty.
Thank you.
And your typical casual games that are your annual franchises. That is just, you know, that's just standard. That's all we know. And even then, it's not 30% of the install base. That's not 20%. I mean, it's a large piece, but it's not nowhere near as the attach rate that most people want.
I actually had a conversation with an analyst that said if you were in terms of first party franchise or title, if you're like high single digits,
yes,
or you know, like low double digits in terms of sales to your base, you're probably doing very well.
Yeah.
And so when I hear people always use Uncharted 4. Yeah. As I can't, you know, Sony's got 70 million, but it's only sold 9.
Yeah.
That game's successful. 9 million successful.
Yes. And it's only sold on one platform.
Yes, exactly.
So you take a game like Call of Duty that sells, you know, 20 to 30 million. Well, guess what? It's sold across freaking any platform available.
Two platforms now with an install base of, you know, over 100 million.
Cuphead sold what, 2 million?
2 million.
Between the PC and the Xbox, which is great for a small indie title that only costs $20. That is, you know, the developers are ecstatic about that. that is they never in their wildest dreams thought that this game would do that well.
So people are laughing because Uncharted 4 only sold say
$9 million,
half a billion dollars worth of games. Not even with the DLC or anything else.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, you know, what's funny is that people are making fun of that. They're it's only sold 9 million, but you know, but look, it's still generate revenue. Yeah. But not only that, here's the thing. We talked about the importance of first party games. You know, a game like Horizon Zero Dawn is it has sold PlayStation 5s.
That game alone, just based on its $60 price tag, has sold well over $100 million, and that's without the DLC or anything else.
That's a great point.
I think that game was sold 3 to 4 million now. Yeah. So,
but Jay, let me ask you something real quick. When you met Shuei, did he mention? I know you mentioned we can't keep making the same franchises over and over again.
Yes.
Was part of that because they know that they will get the buy-in for future consoles for the sequels of new franchises?
Yes. Now, this is an interesting topic in discussion. Now, let me share this. Think about it. Nathan Drake can't go on forever because that franchise was made last generation, right? Okay, it sold tons, with part 2 and part 3. And now in this generation, you had part 4 and you had the Lost Legacy. Okay, now it's time for Drake to do something else, or it's time for that franchise to do something else. So without going directly, but alluding to, look what they did to God of War, right? It started on the
PS2.
PS2. It lasted through the PS3. Now it's time to do something different. Not necessarily kill it off, but they basically remade the game, put them in a whole different world, totally new camera system, total new fighting system. They gave it a whole nother life. So guess what? Now this God of War is basically been remade, and it can extend on with another 2 to 3 games. You have to make something fresh. And this is, I'm going to compare this to Halo and God of War, right? So we've all played, I think, everybody here has already played Halo on the OG Xbox. We've all played Gears on last generation. Even though it's on the Xbox One X and the Xbox One, you still feel like it's still Gears. They made it look prettier. They changed the storyline, but the base of the game is still Gears, and everything feels familiar. Nothing has really changed. Even with Halo, nothing has really changed. So they're going to have to re-envision, how do you take this game that's an older game, and how are you going to move it to the next generation? How are you going to reinvigorate the people to go out and give it a whole new experience? And this is what was discussed. How do we take games that have ran their course, and how do we move it to the next gen and give it a whole different feel, a whole different look, and extend that story some kind of way? And sometimes, like he said, you have to give it a rest. You have to kill it. New franchises and things to the table that may or may not stick, but at least it's something else. This is how you have Days Gone that can potentially lead on to a trilogy. This is why you have all these other games that could lead to trilogies. Yes. So this is why, and he did say this, out of all the games that they release, only a handful actually go and do those Uncharted numbers and actually do really well that are breakout. The rest of them are lost leaders. They don't do well. They don't make the revenue as expected. But this is why you have to keep throwing stuff out there. You have to keep throwing ideas out there. You just can't have a bunch of one and dones. If Sony decided to leave Nathan Drake at Uncharted 1, we would never have part 2, 3, 4. In the Lost Legacy, we would never have any of that.
Or when a brand starts to get stale, like Halo, honestly. Yes. Halo is man.
I got the solution for Halo, by the way.
Yeah, what's that? Because there's problems there.
So with Halo, what they should do is they should have Master Chief be addicted to methamphetamine. And oh man, I'm sorry. That's okay.
And what about Cortana?
Cortana, she is a crack addiction, and she does things in back alleys, and just her life's just gone, like, turned for the worse, So together they need to come together and find what made them great.
Yeah. OBJ, you see that pattern, right? That's exactly where Microsoft is headed, buddy. They want games as a service. They want these multiplayer games. They want to be able to capitalize on loot boxes and things like that in the future.
Hold on, real quick, Jay. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's going to go.
Mm-hmm. I don't mean to interrupt. Ryan Landis said God of War on PlayStation 5 might be fighting Jesus. Oh my God!
Hey, you know what? You never know.
Could be
after he killed all of the Nord gods.
Zeus. Don't you think that might get a little bit of backlash, though, if that happened?
Obviously you would have to call him a different name, but wink, wink.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I see what you just did there.
Yeah.
No, wait. Jay, do you see what
What's
you
up?
see what J-Dub just did?
What do you do?
You see what he just did? He just said they would have to call him a different name. Wink, wink.
Okay.
Do you see what he's getting at? Oh,
Yeah.
dropping nuggets.
Well, listen, and I'll tell you guys this.
You were dropping nuggets.
This is just. I'm not predicting anything. Let me throw this idea out there. I'm not saying that anyone told me this. This is just my idea. What if? Okay, now they're dealing with the in God of War, it's in a whole different era. You have a bunch of different gods, and
Like,
what are those gods? You have Thor, you have Loki, you have
Loki,
Odin. Yes, Odin. You have all this stuff. Sony, because they are a movie company as well, and they have contracts and relationships with the movie industry and the licenses of different characters. What if you see a certain Marvel character show up in a certain God of War game that could potentially lead to other big things, such as featured characters and I'm just saying, what if?
So somebody's saying that Thor might make an appearance in God of War.
I'm just saying, what if?
well, I think here's how I interpret that, J-Dubs. I think what you're saying is, given the setting,
Yeah,
that it may not be the Thor per se for the movie,
Yes.
but that it is Thor the character,
Yes.
right?
Yes. But to take it a little step further, what if it was?
See, I don't know if I want like Thor the character, and I wouldn't want like the Thor the character from the Avengers in God of War. Thor, okay, but their own version of Thor.
Yeah, I could see that. It's not like if you're looking at Iron Man, it's not like you actually see Tony Stark's.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
have we seen them in a game before? No, we haven't.
If I see the Patriot drop down from the sky in God of War, I'm gonna have problems.
Yeah, but you got to realize this, okay? There's billions and billions of dollars at stake, and Sony has the capability of leveraging.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, honestly.
You said you.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm a comic book geek. I don't, things like that would excite me, and it would excite many others too. I think that would be a sort of a.
But that's what I'm hinting at. Okay, let's say, okay, you take these kids or these guys who are comic book characters. They love the comics. They love the Marvel movies. They're invested in that world. Sony is a company too, right? They have these licenses. They have these things that they trade out. Yes, I get the comic book character here, and I'll give you this, or I'll do this movie for you, or I'll let you feature my character in you. They have these relationships. The video game world is a little bit different. You can still leverage that, but it's different because it's a video game, right? So a lot of the movie studios don't really care as much because it's a video game. I care about my movies. I don't care about video games. So what if you saw something like that? I'm not saying it had to be the specific guy who plays Thor, but what if it was that guy? I mean, would that be a no? Would you guys hate that? Or the good side to that would be a bunch of people who never really even cared of God of War game now are exposed to God of War. And the only way to play Thor or to fight Thor and Loki and the rest of these guys is to buy a PlayStation. You have to be in that ecosystem because it isn't exclusive.
Remember,
so this is right up.
Yeah, they do things like this with games, or they used to all the time. Remember Soul Calibur with the different characters? You had
Yoda
on one console, Vader on the other one. This kind of stuff is honestly, I like it. I like when they do things like this. I think it's very marketable, and it just has to make sense, though. I will say that. I would say that with caution. There has to be some sense there.
Yeah,
you can't just throw in a character like Thor and just go, "Oh, he's just in here for shits and giggles. Here he is, boom."
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's got to be done right.
I'll tell you guys this, okay? The God of War game is not going to be the only God of War. there's going to be multiple iterations of it. And again, it's a new story. He finds himself in a totally different place that we've never seen before. He has a son, has a wife. All this stuff need to be told. But at the end of the day, he has to fight gods. That's what he does. His name is the God of War, and so now he's in the Norse mythology. They have gods, and this is going to happen whether we like it or not. Now, the question I have is, how will that be received? Because if they do work in some Marvel type contracts and features, how will that be received? I think I'm not worried about Sony Santa Monica. I know they're going to do a great job with the game. I mean, it's already looking beautiful, and just seeing it on that screen at PSX, I mean, there's nothing that can touch it.
It already makes sense in terms of just it being Norse mythology. Thor and Loki both are in it, so it makes sense. So I don't think that would be a big issue. I was excited to hear that they were going this route with God of War, to be honest. It's pretty awesome. I'm into that whole Viking thing and stuff. I want to see what's going on with this game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when they brought it back, to be honest with you. I didn't play the last God of War, which was what was the last one? What was it called? Not God of War 3. There's another one after that.
Ascension.
Yeah, I didn't play that.
Yeah. Well, that was the worst one. So.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people. That's what I heard from a lot of people that played it.
And this is why they remastered God of War 3, because that was the one that was critically acclaimed. Everyone loved that one. So I mean, it just made sense.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys something real quick. What do you guys want to see from the console manufacturers 2018?
More games, more big blockbuster games. 2017, I'm not gonna lie, it was an unusual year because we started off in January just having games after games after game, and everyone has.
We started off January with like Game of the Year contenders already.
Yes, and that fed into February, and then March was killer because the Switch launched, and you had the MLB, and you had other games.
Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I mean, and it just never stopped. Remember, guys, a couple of years ago, I mean, especially last generation, summertime was dead for video games.
I remember.
There was nothing that ever dropped in the summer. You didn't start to get games until August and September, and that's when like your Forgers came out. That's when some of your shooters started to come out. But this year there was nonstop from May, June, July, August. I mean, it was just nonstop.
We pretty much know that out of the Sony camp next year, we're going to get some big games. There's at least 3 games that are coming out that are big, heavy hitters. So we know that's what we're getting over there for sure. But I don't want to overlook some of these indie titles either, because if it's one thing that this generation has really shown me or opened my eyes to is indie titles. I really sort of fell in love with a lot of these indies that I've been playing. There has been some great ones to come out. And so I would definitely, welcome all types of games, big and small, as long as they're fun. But that said, Microsoft is in desperate need of at least one big AAA game next year. By the end of the year, they need that, and not want that. They need that. So if by E3 or, if they're not showing anything of a big game coming out this year, coming year, that, that's going to be very bad, man. Very bad for Microsoft.
Well, the games that they have coming out that we know of, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, State of the...
I don't put any of those into AAA category. Yeah. So for me, those are double A's all day.
Yeah, I agree. Now, let me ask you guys this question. E3 is a show that they put on to show us what's coming in the future. It's never been a show to say, hey, guys, we have this coming out next month.
No, but remember, Microsoft, they're supposedly, we don't show games that are 2 years out. We're not going to do that anymore. Although
Yeah,
they've
but
done it with Sea of Thieves and Crackdown for the last 3 years.
yeah,
But
you can't take.
here's the thing, even if
Yeah.
they show anything, I think what's going to happen, and this is my biggest fear, but I think this is what's going to happen this E3. I think Microsoft is going to end with Halo 6. And if they do that, that is a terrible, terrible E3.
Here's the thing, though. Like, what can they do? It's not like they've been working on.
Halo 6 ain't going to do it. And
What about a new Fable?
Fanboys are running around saying that this is a great E3 after seeing Halo 6, a teaser for Halo 6, they're out of their goddamn minds.
What about a new
Halo
Fable?
5 was trash. Yes, the multiplayer is decent, but man, I mean, come on. Like that Halo story hasn't been good, in my opinion, the last 3 games.
Yeah, 4 it started to tail off.
5 was terrible.
I'm going to tell you guys now. I've been burnt out of Halo since, man.
Yeah,
since the 3, since last year. I've just been burnt out of it.
3 was good. 4 was a little. 4 is when it started, kind of,
Yeah, I was done after 3. Like once Bungie left them, I was like, I'm done with it. Really. And I've played the game since, but they weren't that good.
This is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid E3 is going to come and go, and the guys are still going to be hyping these AA games, and there's not going to be, because we're looking for that big thing for Microsoft, yes. Right? We're looking for that big thing, and I'm just afraid that it's not going to come. And the reason I say I really hope it comes, but we've been saying this now for the last 2 to 3 years. Every year it's let's wait to E3. Let's wait till Gamescom. Yeah. Let's wait to holiday. Let's wait to E3. Let's wait to Gamescom. Let's wait to Comic-Con. Let's wait, So now it's 2018.
Wait till E3 again. Yeah.
You have your competition coming out with their biggest games ever. Their biggest games. Spider-Man. There is no other character that's bigger than Spider-Man. God of War. I mean, Kratos. I mean, that's the iconic fighting character for Sony. Then you have, new stuff like Days Gone that's coming out. Then you have Detroit Become Human that people love the previous games. So those are just the games that we knew about. Those are not like the smaller games, the VR games. Those are not even, when Sony gonna start announcing even more games that we don't know about.
Hey, by the way, we gotta get Jay Fonzarelli a VR headset.
That is what's
yes.
That is what's crazy. The fact that at PlayStation's E3, they will be showing at least some new games this coming year.
Yes.
You got to understand, last year they showed the same games they showed at PSX, basically.
Yes.
This PSX, they didn't really show anything new. Well, they're holding it out for E3, and E3 is going to show something. And man, that's what I'm saying. Xbox needs to bring at least one big AAA game to stun the crowd. That's all they need. End on a bang. But they won't. It'll be Halo fucking 6. Mark my words. That is my prediction. And if it is, it's a fucking bad E3.
Can I tell you guys something? I'm going to tell you guys this. When asked why didn't Sony show even more games like they did last PSX at PSX, the reply was because we didn't have to. Because we didn't have to, and that lets me know several things. Now, this is just my mind thinking. Why was that said? Was that because they don't feel like competition is there where they would have to bring out some more big guns, and they could, kind of hold their cards close? Because I mean, from what they showed 2 years ago, is enough to sustain them, or I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I want to say real quick, OBJ to Don. He was saying Forza Horizon 4 will be shown. Yeah, that will be shown, but that's par for the course. That's every 2 years. Yeah, that is not going to do it. They need to show a brand new IP They cannot show Halo 6 or Gears 5. It's not going to work. That doesn't generate as much buzz as something brand new and in your face and really like great looking. And for me, I don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing Microsoft, because I'm not. I want to see them do well. That I'm passionate about it. I want to see games, brand new IPs do very well. I just want to see gaming move forward, period. It doesn't matter who it comes from, but I really want to see Microsoft. I want to see all this come from Microsoft, because I think that Microsoft is in the most need for it right now. And I think that just pressuring the competition, if they were able to pressure Sony a bit more, it would just be better for Sony. It would be better for us.
Yes.
I just need to see Microsoft do better.
I think a lot of us feel that way, and not because we're, trying to bash Microsoft or because it's popular to pick on them.
No, we wouldn't have bought a $500 console if we really wanted to see them tank.
Facts.
I was about to say that, and because we did, we want to even see them do more now.
Well, technically, guys, we've spent $1,400 on Xbox consoles this generation.
Jesus,
think about it. The OG Xbox One, $500. The $400 for the S, and then you have another $500 console. So it's not, if we hated the ecosystem, or if we hated Microsoft or the console, we wouldn't have spent that amount of money. And some more than others.
It makes you really look at it and think, why did you do that, right? Sometimes, like when you look back at this generation, but then again, it's because you believe in gaming. You are a gamer at the end of the day. You have to have all these consoles, because what if that next new exclusive comes out and you can't play it on your PlayStation or Switch? You want to be able to play it.
Yes.
That is why we buy these consoles.
Yes.
Like if exclusives never mattered, I would buy one console and just play. If everything was played on every console, I would buy one console and stick with it.
Yes,
why would you buy a second?
You would have no reason to buy multiple consoles.
Yeah.
Look at Nintendo. They thrive off of exclusives. And that's just basically what they do. So don't tell, you can't say that exclusives don't matter. They're a direct result from that. Sony as well.
Yeah. Well, I still say Sony selling a lot of consoles based on their exclusives. Hands down. Hands down. They've got the most options this generation. Yep. And Microsoft knows exactly what they're doing. I think it's just their direction that these Xbox don't really kind of grasp yet. They don't understand where they're going. And I think that some of us have a better handle on what's going on. I mean, we don't know for sure 100%, but we have a pretty good idea. They're headed towards a certain direction, and it's not going to be for everybody.
Well, listen here. Regardless of what direction they go, right? They have to have content. They have to keep you coming back, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. They have a very large fan base that are diehard. They are making money. They've been pretty content this generation, regardless of how far behind most people see them, because they're making money. So I think at the end of the day, I think they're complacent. They're not as motivated as you think they would be, right? When I look at them, I don't see that fire, that drive to really try to get one up on the competition. I don't see it from them right now.
Well, here's the thing, though. We can't blame Microsoft 100%. The fan base has to share blame, because we can't say that they didn't try. Beginning of this generation, they tried. They gave you Rise, Son of Rome. They gave you Sunset Overdrive. They gave you a ton of games. Just none of them, now, yes, some of them were just mediocre, but at the same time, I think looking back now, we can look and say, hey, these guys did try. They did try to give you something new.
I'm not even going to say this person's name, but somebody actually told me in the Xbox community behind the scenes, we were talking on Hangouts, other people were there, and this could be verified. They told me that they didn't care right now how Xbox, how they are right now, what they're doing, because they held some stock with Microsoft and said, you know, as long as they're making money, I'm good. And I'm like, well, what about the games? I'm fine with the games. And it's that kind of mentality that Xbox has themselves, but some of their fans do as well.
Yeah.
Wait, so
and that's sad.
This was a fan that owns stock in Microsoft?
Yeah, and this is a fan that's prominent in the community. And they are really settled with what they got. Their offerings that they have at Microsoft is good enough for them. And that's not the attitude to have. If you're a gamer, you should always want your company to try to strive for better, to do better.
Especially if you own stock.
Especially in a world where, if you really think that gaming journalism is biased, you know, or there's so much negativity surrounding that brand you own stock in, you would think that that person would want their company to do better. But no, the company's making money and money for them, so they're content.
By the way, I forget who said it in the live chat. Someone said that because there's a debate about bias versus preference. Someone said you can't have bias without preference. The issue is that what we're saying is that in order for there to be a bias, it needs to be consistent in game journalism, and it's not. We're not seeing necessarily bias. We're seeing them report on things that are happening in the industry per se. Now, there may be some bias.
Yeah, somebody was asking, Cyrus Burke was asking me, who was telling me that trash. I'm not going to say who, but there was some other people in there you can ask. They heard it too. It was mind-blowingly stupid.
But if you're a shareholder, though, you want them to do better, right?
Yeah, I'm just telling you, like they were happy with it, and
that's you know what that is? That's just, you know, that to me sounds like an excuse. I'm a shareholder. You know, they're profitable. That's all I care about. Yeah, but just think how much more profitable they could be.
But this is the mentality I see this regime, if you want to call it, there at Xbox. This little, just the people they have working at Xbox. They're not really pushing the envelope forward. To me, if anything, they're kind of hindering it. I mean, you have the X, the most powerful console. Do something with it. Show us, like, you know, these multiplats, they look great. They're running good. That's fine. But you need an identity of your own. You need a game that truly stands out and speaks to the people, speaks to the gamer. You need something on there that really shows off what this most powerful console can do. You have to do that. And if they don't do that, this E3, if they throw you a goddamn Halo or some bullshit Gears game, it's not going to work. That's not going to do it. Forza didn't do it. Forza Motorsports, yeah, it looked great, but I got to tell you, and I'll be fucking honest, I said this months ago, when I played that GT Sport demo, the lighting and shit in that game was way better than the fucking lighting and shit in Forza Motorsport 7. Some of the graphics aspects of GT Sport look fucking better.
You're going to get hate.
But no, I already did. I said this on RDX as well.
Well,
now Forza looks, it's a beautiful game. Can't take that away from Forza, but it does look a bit more cartoony than GT Sport did. GT Sport, like the way the lighting looks, the way they use lights on the cars, the way, especially when you're driving at night, man, the game is gorgeous.
Yes.
Well, but the only thing is the game sucked because it had no career mode, and they killed themselves with that shit.
Yeah.
So I would say Forza 7 is a better game, but I'm just talking looks here. In my personal opinion, I liked the way GT Sport looked.
Yeah. Here's the thing: Digital Foundry already did that. They've already did that. So if people have problems with, you know, your opinion, they can take it up with Digital Foundry. you know, they've said the same thing. I mean,
Well, then it's Digital Foundry being biased. You know, that will be the. Oh, you know what? Because I remember when that came out, people were like shocked that Digital Foundry even said that.
Yes,
And they said they were being biased, but you know, people say journalists, media, Digital Foundry are biased when you know they don't push their narrative or they don't agree with what they're saying.
Yeah,
but yeah, they do. Microsoft needs something because they need to reclaim that new identity. They need to bring something in that really wows their fans and gamers, just all gamers.
mm-hmm.
They have to.
They might not though, Jay. I mean, they're making money. They're making money, and
That is
as long as they're making money, they're fine. And you got to remember, they're not. Microsoft doesn't need Xbox division.
Yes, but here's the thing: as a gamer, I could care less about their money. Only thing I care about is their games.
But see, that's the disconnect.
Yes, and that's a huge disconnect, and this is why a lot of people are going to eventually pay the piper and they're going to be upset. They're going to get a huge letdown because what they're expecting may or may not come to fruition. It doesn't matter how many years you wait.
Yeah, I just think that I agree with you, Jerry. I think they should split the base, man. I've always said it's just take advantage of the hardware of the Xbox One X.
Cyrus Burke is asking a question in the chat. He's mainly an Xbox gamer. He wants to know the identity of Sony. And the only way I can answer that is to tell you that Sony right now, in my opinion, if I had to just tell you their identity, it's probably going to be one of, various games. I mean, all I got to say is like Naughty Dog. Yes. That company alone speaks volumes. Every time they put out a game, it's a winner.
It's golden. Yeah.
And that is part of their identity, but you've also got, games that come out of the woodwork like Neo. Yes. Or Nier Automata will come out and be, have a cult following.
Or Dreams. Or it's something for and maybe this is why
a lot of options.
Sony has been so successful ever since the PS1 is because they know they don't cater to just one base. Even if the game doesn't really make sense to a lot of people, to the casuals or even the diehards, they will still do it just because they want to make sure that they don't leave anybody out of their ecosystem and have them going elsewhere. Look at a game like The Last Guardian. These guys, it took 10 years? It took a decade to get that game out, and they could have easily canceled it. No one even cared about it anymore.
Yeah.
And they still saw fit to spend money and bring that game out. And regardless of what you say, it was a fan service game. They knew it wasn't going to be the Uncharted or anything. They still said that they wanted to stick to their word and get that game out. Think about it. We got Knack 2, guys. No one was asking for Knack 2, and they still saw fit to give this thing another try to see if they could pick up steam with it. They don't mind investing, but at the same time, we all have to realize PlayStation is now Sony's bread and butter. This is their cash cow. This is the most profitable part of Sony.
Well, technically, that's not true. I don't think.
Well, according to some,
they have an insurance division.
Yeah. Okay. Well, according, yeah, they have. I mean, obviously, the movie division. They have a lot of things.
No, but I'm saying they sell like life insurance or something like that. They have like a division that does like benefits or something crazy.
Yeah,
that's in Japan. Most people don't know that, but it's pretty profitable, for what I understand.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what. They're the way they're treating this division is it's their lifeline. This is why they don't mind investing in VR.
True. Yeah,
and doubling down on it. This is why they don't mind investing in games like Dream that take freaking forever to come out. And knock on wood, but the game might bomb, and guess what? There'll probably be a Dreams too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sony's definitely shifted. I mean, all of us are older here and know Sony growing up. I mean, Sony was a household name with regards to electronics, to CD players, to the Walkman. I mean, you guys remember the Walkman was just revolutionary for Sony.
Yeah.
And And so they've kind of gone from, being making high-end electronics to not doing that as much, to focusing on entertainment.
Yes.
And I think that's like the biggest differentiator between the two, Microsoft and Sony. And I think you see that and some of the things they're doing. Like we talked about Microsoft doing Game Pass.
I think Microsoft's identity has been, always about, they've always focused heavily on internet community and stuff. And that's still really big and really great on Microsoft. I have to say, Xbox Live party chats and stuff are awesome. They've since gone into, more service-based stuff. You got Game Pass and EA Access, and that's awesome too. But they need some games there that really draw people in. And I think that, while they still have Forza, they need a game like Halo, but not Halo. They need a game like Gears, but not Gears. Those games have been played out. They haven't changed much over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think they need to do something fresh. They need to bring something in there. I know they've been speculating or they've been teasing that they're going to be making this new Horizon Zero Dawn type game. Yes, that's what they need to go for. They need to do something new.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not bashing Microsoft. I want to see them kick Sony's ass. I would love nothing more than to see them dominate over the rest of the competition, because again, it'll get the rest of these guys moving. It'll light a fire under their asses. And that's what you need with these gaming companies. That's what you need your mooches and your craps out there to be saying to their fan base, is they want to see Sony or they want to see Microsoft kick their ass so they can do this. And if Sony's down, they should be saying they want to see Sony kick their ass. Mm-hmm. That's just the way they should be as gamers. You want to see competition constantly evolving. You want to see them constantly trumping one another, because this helps us in the long run.
Gamers win when that happens.
Exactly.
That's so true. I mean, you look at what happened with Sony last console gen. What do? They're refocused.
Yep.
And
they caught up.
They caught up towards the end, and they put out some great content, some great games.
Yep.
We talked about Uncharted, and then the icing on the cake for them was The Last of Us.
Yes.
So VV Timo says, you're telling me Sea of Thieves is nothing new. Okay. Now, here's the thing about Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, and I could talk to you and tell you that I don't like Sea of Thieves based on looks alone, but it is not. And I've heard from friends that have played the alpha and stuff. It is a game that you have to play with others, and it is a game of instances. Like there's things that pop up that you have to do, just random shit all the time. Like, it's not a game where there's any kind of storyline or anything. It's just, boom, there's something to do here. Let's go here and do this. Boom, let's go there and do that. It's not a game for everybody. Yeah. That is not going to really sell the console. I'm sorry. It might sell to a few out there, but it's not a console seller.
Well, history agrees with you. The history agrees with you. Look at the biggest disappointment this gen for Xbox. I will believe it would be the cancellation of Scalebound. By far, that game was anticipated not only by Xbox guys, but by Sony guys. Why? Because it was a Western RPG that had freaking dragons in it and a cool guy that had Beats headphones. I mean, how could you not like that game? And
it was Platinum Games.
Yes. But for whatever reason, and I'm not going to get into the details because it really doesn't matter at this point, but people were let down with that game being canceled. And then right after that, right after that, then you had Fable Legends. Not only did the game get canceled, but the studio was shut down, Lionhead. And Lionhead had been in the gaming division for quite a while. I remember playing their games on the PC back in the day.
Hey guys, I hate to interrupt, but I've got to go, Enrique. It was fun. Thanks for inviting me, but I got to put my daughter to bed, so it's been.
Yeah, no worries, man. I know we've been going on for a little while.
Yeah. But anyway, it was nice to podcast with you, of course, and J Dubs. It was great again.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, man. All right. Thanks to the chat for being there and checking us out tonight. I'll see you guys later.
All right, Jay. Thank you, man.
Take care. Yeah, I just, again, I hope we see Scalebound franchise back in the works. I hope we see the Fable go to another studio. I'm hoping though, because those were some highly anticipated games.
Yeah.
But right now, time is not on Microsoft's side. So if they have something, they need to be spitting it out. They don't have time to sit back and relax and deliver on their own time. Right now, people have spent on the world's most powerful console. They want content that is new and fresh, and that's going to, that's going to show it off. So
I agree.
The patches are good. The backwards compats and all the stuff that it does to make games look better is good. But when I play Halo 5 and when I play Gears 4, it's a prettier looking version, but it still reminds me it's still Halo 5, it's still Gears 4. I've already beat those games. It doesn't turn those games into the next iteration. I'm not playing Halo 6 just because it's on the X, no matter how good it looks.
No, I agree with you. I think, I've said this before. They should just say, you know what, fuck it, we're going to make an exclusive game for the X.
Yes.
And sorry, S owners, but I mean, they basically did it, with a 360.
Yeah.
I think the OG Xbox was out 3 years before they announced a new console.
Yep. And they did not support the original Xbox much long after that.
No, they didn't. They said, you know what, we're moving forward. So
yeah,
I don't know.
They're in a damn if you do, damn if you don't situation.
Yeah, no, they are. But I think when you show off games that look good on the X, imagine. I mean,
people will forget. People will forgive you.
Exactly.
People will forgive you. Yeah.
Yeah. If you give them a reason why,
yes,
and it's a game and it looks good, you're right.
If you show them some games that are fresh, brand new, and it gets everyone. Do you remember E3 when they showed Anthem? And everyone starts screaming and going crazy for that game. They need that type of enthusiasm for exclusives on the platform, and then people will forget. They will go and cash in their S's and their OG Xboxes on the X, and they will just say, "Okay, this is what it's going to take for me to get to play that. I'm going to move forward with it. Fine, I don't care."
Yeah. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Well. It's going to be interesting. E3 is going to come. Microsoft is going to I'm assuming going to announce some more games. They're going to show some more games, and we know Sony's going to show their stable. We're going to get to see final gameplay of The Last of Us. Neil Druckmann confirmed that to us at PSX, and we will see some some more controller hands-on gameplay of Kojima's game, Death Stranding. So,
cool.
it's gonna be interesting. 2018 is going to be a barn burner, according to Sony and according to Nintendo, and I'm hoping Microsoft can say the same and do the same.
I'll tell you what, we get Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh my god,
early 2018.
Yes, can't wait. And I played it at PSX. So.
How's it look?
Oh my god, it looks beautiful.
How are the gameplay mechanics though? Like, are they? Because sometimes when they do remasters of older games,
yes,
like controllers, they don't really.
So here's the thing, right?
The current, John.
Okay, so they fixed the animation. So even though they kept a lot of the assets, and they just refreshed the assets and made them, 4K. They made them beautiful. They add a ton of foliage and stuff that the PS2 couldn't do back in the day. So they fully made this game a new generation game. But it still felt like this is it didn't feel foreign to me. It felt like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We don't want to take the essence of what this game originally was. It was a lot better than The Last Guardian. The Last Guardian obviously had the awkward camera angles, and some areas felt kind of clunky.
Yeah,
but that's to be expected. But this game here, they're giving it the AAA treatment. And again, the game's going to be $30, so you can't complain. And this is what Sony is doing. They kind of gave up on the whole backwards compatibility thing, and they're choosing the top litter of the games, the most requested, and they're rebuilding them back. This is why you got Medieval at PSX, because it was, again, another one of those games, and they were like, okay, we'll give it the Last Guardian, we'll give it the Shadow of Colossus treatment, we'll give it the Ratchet and Clank treatment, we'll give it, this is what they're going to do. So expect this to go forward. You're going to get a lot of these games that come out from them, and not only that, it's easier for them to make it, and they can get them out quicker.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. All right. Well, tell you what, JW, we've been at this for a couple hours now, and I do need to wrap up.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah. So, hey, man, thanks for jumping in kind of last minute, man. I saw you in the live chat. Like, let me throw him an invite real quick.
Definitely, man. I came and checked you out. I literally jumped out of another podcast. Came, check you guys out over here at BRAP, and then I saw the link, so I went ahead and jumped in.
No, I appreciate that, man. And big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you so much. Saw some new faces in the live chat. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like button and subscribe as well. We're looking to obviously grow the channel, and we do these rants every. I think I probably do them about every other week, but we do we have a regularly scheduled podcast on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely check us out. Also check out Loot Chest Radio. You might have seen Jay Fonzarelli. Big shout out to him for joining us tonight. He had his Loot Chest Radio avatar or what's it called? Logo on. Thank you. And you could find at Loot Chest Radio on Twitter, and follow us on YouTube or iTunes as well. So definitely check that podcast out. So, all right, everyone. Hey, everyone, have a happy holidays and enjoy the weekend. And we'll see you guys next week, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, big shout out to Jay Fonzarelli and JW. Thank you for coming by again, man. I appreciate it. It was great having you on again.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, everyone have a great weekend. Happy holidays. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace.
Take care, guys.